Constitutional Conversations is a series of discussions by America's leading scholars about the principles, framing, ratification, and implementation of constitutional government in the United States. This series is hosted by the James Madison Memorial Fellowship Foundation of Alexandria, Virginia.
I don't think there's any doubt that the single most important event in ratifying the Constitution was ratification by Massachusetts. Up until that time, there were 5 states that ratified, 3 of them unanimously. None proposed amendments to the Constitution. That was one of the things that the Constitutional Convention sort of intimated, that you would either accept or reject this Constitution, not make changes. And so when Massachusetts came along, there were almost 400 delegates in that convention. Most of them were unknowns. The towns sent representatives to their House of Representatives, but the towns had to pay for those representatives, and so often the western towns weren't represented in the state legislature. Now the state was paying for delegates to go to the convention in Massachusetts, so all the towns sent representatives. So a lot of these Westerners were unknown as to how they would vote. After 3 weeks of debate, Federalist leaders realized they would lose if the vote was taken. Massachusetts was one of 3 large states in the country, the key state in New England. And so what Federalist leaders decided was they had to change their tactics. And so they went to Governor Hancock, John Hancock, who was elected a convention delegate. He was quite a vain man. He wanted to be elected president of the convention, and he was, but he wanted to go with the wind. He wanted to go with the winning side. And so he got a convenient attack of the gout, and it forced him to stay home in Boston while the convention met for 3 weeks. When it was decided by Federalist leaders that they would lose, they approached Hancock and they said to him, "We have a deal for you." They didn't like him. They were politically far afield from him. And they said to him, "If you present this list of 9 recommendatory amendments that we've drafted, we will support you for governor in the next spring elections." It's an annual election for governor. "And we'll support you for vice president of the United States." And they said, "You know, John, there's no guarantee that Virginia will ratify the Constitution. And if Virginia doesn't ratify, George Washington will not be eligible to be the first president of the United States. What do you think, John?" The next day, John Hancock was carried into the convention on a litter, and he said, "Do I have a plan for you?" 9 recommendatory amendments. These are not going to be conditional. The convention would ratify unconditionally, but propose that their representatives and senators in the first Congress submit these 9 amendments to be ratified under the 5th Amendment of the Constitution. With that procedure, Massachusetts ratified by a majority of only 19. 6 of the remaining 7 states followed that procedure in ratifying. Without that procedure established by Massachusetts, it's highly doubtful the Constitution would have been ratified in the form that it was.
Constitutional Conversations is made possible by a generous grant from the Fairleigh S. Dickinson Jr. Foundation. Constitutional Conversations is made possible by the James Madison Education Fund.